Hey there, it's Ryan with I'mMinnesotaNice.com. Today, day 65. We're going to kind of be talking about two different things, I think.
Yeah.
More or less today.
Yeah,
I'm here with Marc, and you're going to have to say your last name.
Marc Vaillancourt, or Vaillancourt, but
Sure.
It's actually Vaillancourt. It's a French-Canadian name,
Sure.
And although I live in Minnesota now, I'm a recent transplant to the state, got here in 2000.
Okay, so you've been here for about 11 years.
Yeah, 11 years. Last April will be 11 years. My wife is originally from Minnesota, so...
we attracted you down here.
Exactly.
Come on down.
I came for love. So.
That's good. We kept you here.
Exactly. So
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, you do two things. One is you are a pianist.
I am. Yeah. In 2009, I released my first CD called Until Tomorrow Comes, and that was a project that was 15 years in the making.
Okay.
And my goal was to record my first CD before I was 40.
Sure.
And it released about 6 weeks before that day. So nothing
like
waiting until the last minute.
But you got it. You got your dream. I mean, that was like...
And this one is titled Simple Things, and I promised that I would not wait another 15 years for the second one.
Yeah.
So that one came out a couple months ago, actually, end of July, early August. And all original music. On this CD, all original music except for one. Actually, there's a French-Canadian song that I grew up listening to called À la Claire Fontaine. And so I did an arrangement of that. So it's kind of public domain stuff. But everything else is songs that I wrote. And I have a great, incredible co-arranger that it just takes my music to a different level, I think, and it's kind of been
takes your input and kind of just
it's kind of been a great partnership. So
yeah, that's good. That's cool. So that's 2 CDs right now.
Yeah, 2, and I have the roadmap for a Christmas CD.
Sure.
Not going to be this year.
Yeah.
And then I'm also a worship leader, for my church, and I also have a roadmap for a worship CD that I'd like to do at some point. But,
at some point.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I mean, I've spent a lot of time. I did a 7-week emceeing experience. I was the MC for a concert series.
Yep.
And I noticed that so many of those guys, they don't have CDs. How did you get to this point? I mean, like, boom, here it is. Send it up.
The key thing is that 10, 15 years ago, none of this would have been possible for an independent artist.
Right.
And now, today, with distribution outlets like cdbaby.com, you can get your music on iTunes.
Right.
There are companies out there that actually have really good programs for independent artists.
Sure.
So the first one I did, and both of them actually, we wanted them to look and wanted them to be professional. So I believe in surrounding yourselves with people that are really good at what they do. So from the recording, there you go. and we should let everyone know that it's really early right now. Right?
It is. That's right. It's 6 o'clock in the morning right now. That's dedication right there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was the case with the music. I poured my life into this music.
Right.
It's inspired by my life experience, by my kids, by my wife, by my family, all of those things. So when you put yourself out there, you just want to make sure that you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So so you surround yourself with good people, and so I had a great photographer, and we tried to do everything right, but economically speaking,
right?
Because we're independent, right? And that's it. So
I mean, you have to find your P's and Q's as well.
Yeah, and the beauty of it now is that it's on iTunes, it's on Amazon. I mean, it's available on my website, and all of those things not even an option 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
you need it to be signed by some A&R guy.
Go up the line, and you wouldn't have been able to do it.
And now it's.
So you're like the Justin Bieber of piano music here, right?
No.
I mean, you followed that similar up, just did it. They just did it.
You just exactly. I mean, you just got to put your mind to it and do it, And so I am no Justin Bieber because all of my stuff is 90% instrumental.
Sure. Well.
So.
Oh.
if I want to compare myself to a Canadian artist, and I wouldn't compare myself, but I would say that David Foster is maybe.
In the same.
The guy that really has inspired me.
Sure, that's cool.
And he's Canadian, so.
Well, that's the music stuff. You also do something in your spare time. In your
all of this is in my spare time.
Yeah, in spare time.
In my spare time. The other thing is a podcast series called The Conversation Hub,
right.
And you and I actually I interviewed you about a week ago or so to be on the podcast, and the podcast is all about conversations. It's about being in conversation,
Right, yeah.
and we have I host conversations on life, business, and everything in between.
Sure.
And the premise is pretty simple. We believe that, or I believe, we say we because it makes us sound bigger, right? I believe that through conversations, relationships are formed. Through conversations, knowledge is shared. But more importantly, through conversation, life happens and finds meaning.
Right.
So a good cup of coffee, a good conversation, and to me, that's life.
Right.
And so the podcast is really, we're about a year and a half old, 67, 68 interviews,
right.
2,000 hours of conversation, really some pretty amazing stuff.
I was perusing it, and you have people from all over the country. It's not just Minnesota people.
It's not just Minnesota. It's all over the country and all over the world. I mean, I've got I've interviewed people from Australia. I've interviewed some people, a guy who's Australia but now lives in Great Britain.
Sure.
And I interviewed somebody who lives in Qatar. I interviewed one of my wife's cousin was a deployed soldier in the Sinai Peninsula around the whole stuff in Egypt and the Arab Spring, so I had an interview with him. And so again, if it's something that's of interest to me, I'll send an email to somebody cold and just say, hey, you want to have a conversation about that? So
that's cool, and I'll record it.
Yeah, and then we do it over the phone, and again, that podcast is available on iTunes, and people can listen. So it's kind of fun.
And those are, I listened to. I was going to say watched a couple of them. I listened to a few of them. And they're about a half an hour to an hour, somewhere in there. Probably.
Yeah, it all. I mean, there's no formula. Right. It's a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, as you can attest to the interview that I did with you, I mean, I do have a little bit of a roadmap, but it's.
Yeah, we were.
I mean, you don't call your friend and say, "Hey, let's go for coffee and here are the 5 things I want to talk to you about."
Exactly.
I mean,
you want to have a conversation.
It's a conversation. So. 30 minutes is about the average, but you're right. Some of them have been, as much as 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Some of them have been a little less than 30, and it's kind of that,
wherever
the conversation goes, and if it's meaningful, I won't stop it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll let that thread go through because I'm learning something, and
so while I was rambling on and on.
And the thing with me is that the fact that it's a conversation, you never know where it's going to take you. But that's the beauty of it, is that you discover people's stories, you discover some things that maybe you didn't know about, and then all of a sudden it just expands your world. And I mean, I've got 68 good conversations and friends and people that I can call on now and seek their advice on.
Definitely. And that it's something similar that I'm doing with this project here, just having conversations, just being real and open and learning more about the people of Minnesota.
You've got a great project. I'm really excited to have you on our show, and I look forward to seeing your videos every day and see what things am I going to discover about the state that I live in.
Right. That could be out there that you didn't know.
That I wasn't aware of. So.
Well, perfect. I think that's it.
Well, cool. Thanks.
You can check out theconversationhub.com. Yep,
theconversationhub.com is the podcast, and then marcvaillancourt.com is the music site.
Vaillancourt.
If that works.
Actually, I would say Vaillancourt.
You would? Okay.
Yeah, that's how I would say it.
Okay, well, there you go.
Anyway, I'm Ryan with iMinnesotaNice.com, sharing the best of Minnesota.